Welcome back, everybody. What we're going to do now is have a look at some questions and answers. Now, the questions that I pulled together are typical of the kind of questions you can expect around this introductory topic of the Cold War. And bear in mind that a lot of the background detail is reading that you're going to have to try and pick up on your own as well, other than the concentrated material that you'll receive in your classroom or on these lessons. So, having read what we have, number one, explain how the USA and Soviet Russia came to be known as superpowers. Now that'll be an interesting question. So to answer this question, you would look at the following ideas. The relationship between the Axis and the Allied forces. Well, bear in mind that Germany was a common enemy of both the USA and Russia. So Germany, as an enemy, pulled two unlikely parties together in an allied approach, in a united approach. Now, during this time, there were always their tensions anyway. They were always evident there. And what happened was, during this period of the 30s and into the 40s, and then into the 50s after the war, the relationships got more and more tense, and the relationship broke down. However, because the leaders in Russia and the leaders in America wanted to outdo each other, they wanted their country to be the greatest, it resulted in two things: the arms war, as it was known, and the space war. The idea behind that was, who was going to produce the most violent, the most aggressive, or the most effective weapons of destruction. And this is where the nuclear warheads came into being. So both Russia and the Americans started developing nuclear warheads. They raced against each other, became more and more aggressive on political levels, on ideology levels, and on economic levels. The result is that we ended up with MAD, mutually assured destruction, as a concern. Because who was going to create the most, and who was going to be the first one to push that red button to destroy the enemy? Secondly, we had the space race. Now, this also caused tensions because the two countries wanted to be the first country, and to beat the other country, in getting out into space. In fact, both Russia and America had a drive to see who could put the first man on the moon. Now, we know that the first person out in space to circumnavigate the Earth, or to orbit the Earth, was Yuri Gagarin, who was a Russian. And as we know, the first man to step onto the moon was American Neil Armstrong. So you can see how the two were always at each other. But during this time, they became stronger and stronger, not only with the arms race and the space race, but also their economies grew stronger. And hence, because of the authority that they exerted around the globe as a whole, these two countries became known as superpowers. Question number 2. Can you name and define the 3 types of global economies? So that'll keep you busy for a while. So let's have a look at that, shall we? First one we have is capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system based on the survival of the fittest. What this means is, so let's define capitalism a little bit further. Capitalism allows an individual to rise up and do their best. In other words, the more effort you put into your task, the greater your reward will be. Capitalism allows for equal opportunity for everybody to pursue that dream of making money and making wealth. The idea is that ultimately, if every person, every member of the society strives to do their best, what will happen is they will then grow the economy as a whole. Secondly, socialism. Socialism is an economic system based on you get your share no matter what your contribution is. So you could be a hard-working member of society, you could be going out to create all sorts of great things for yourself, and you can grow as an individual. You can grow your wealth, you can grow your family, you can grow your assets. Or you can sit on your bum in the street or sit in your home and do very little. Either way, in a socialist environment, the country will look after you and you get your share of what the country is creating. Next up, we have communism. Now, communism is interesting in that you don't own anything. Contrary to that, communism is the final stage in an equal society. Everyone is equal. You don't own anything. No one person is greater than the other, and all the economy in a country is managed, run, and controlled by the government powers and the governing authorities at that point. So the state owns all the resources, and it's the state that determines distribution of those funds based on the needs of society in an effort to ensure that everybody is completely equal. So let's have a look at another question, shall we? We've had a look at the difference between the three different economies. So can you discuss the difference between capitalism and socialism? Well, the difference is quite interesting. There is still a certain amount of freedom to create your own wealth, freedom to grow your assets and to grow your stature in an economic society. However, in socialism, it's treated that all humans are equal. All right? We know that's true. So socialism enforces that all humans are equal. History is seen as a wave of progressivism. We grow and develop into a socialistic environment, and it's an ongoing process. Capitalism, on the other hand, leaves you to do your own thing. We know that society in socialism is seen as more than just an individual. Capitalism encourages independence, encourages the individual to grow and make a life for themselves. Socialism encourages the community, the collective, as it were, where everybody works together for everyone else. All humans are productive in socialism. That's the belief. Not necessarily always true, but all humans benefit from the state in socialism. And in socialism, as opposed to in capitalism, human welfare is a societal objective. You see, in capitalism, there aren't always society and welfare organizations and that'll support people. It's very easy to find that you don't have people looking after the elderly, people looking after the sick, as much as you would in a social society. So in a socialistic society, the state puts in place various different welfare groups and organizations to assist the society as a whole. You're expected to look after yourself in a capitalist society. So there you can see the difference between the two. Now, the final question that you can be asked with regards to all this is, why did the two superpowers never engage in conventional warfare? That would have destroyed their world. Simple as that. But it's a little bit more complicated. You see, both Russia and America were attempting to develop and grow their nuclear power, their nuclear armaments, their nuclear warheads. They wanted to be the primary and dominant country globally. Both of them did. And they were both racing against each other to see who would come first, who would be the best, who would be the greatest. The end result is that they both acquired so much in the way of dangerous weapons that they knew that if Russia launched a nuclear attack, America would respond in the same. Now that could only have resulted in both countries being completely and absolutely destroyed. Now that's not something that any state or any country wants to see happen. Yes, you want to beat your enemies. You want to ensure that you are the biggest and the strongest and the toughest. We've seen that throughout history whenever there's been wars. But in that context, throughout history, there's always been battle. There's always been people coming against each other with weapons, be it swords, be it guns, be it cannons, be it rockets, be it jets, that kind of thing. There's always been contact. There was no conventional warfare and no contact taking place here because of the fear of the end result. Now, the end result was, as I've mentioned earlier, something called MAD, Mutually Assured Destruction. Now, this MAD, this Mutually Assured Destruction concept, meant that neither of the two countries, neither of the two states would start a conventional war against each other. The tensions thus climbed and climbed and climbed and resulted in a stressful period around the whole globe, a time of insecurity and a time of fear. Fortunately, that all changed. History shows us that. So these are some of the questions that you can expect. These are the kind of answers that you'll have to give. Note that there's very few one-answer, two-word, three-word answers. These are all in-depth thinking questions that you're going to have to answer in full. So if you want to know more about these, if you want to hear more about these, don't forget to go to www.iwis.co.za. You'll find lessons there on our app, which is tremendous. But also, I'll catch you on TV again soon. Cheers. Good luck. We need to learn to live with the COVID virus, the new normal, at least for the next few months. And we have just what you need to make sure you never miss a single school lesson. And it's absolutely free. Mahala! High quality, powerful, animated lessons for all your subjects. So don't spend a cent until you have tried iWis. It's everything you need. All video lessons, textbooks, workbooks, exam prep. We want you to ace 2021.